Welcome to the Intuitive Marriage Podcast, your guide to love, attraction, and the magic of making dreams real. I'm Amanda Pott, your companion on the soulful exploration of what it means to have a marriage that sings to your heart. I've always believed in true love and the idea that we have the power to bring positivity into our lives. As a mentor certified in helping humans live their best lives, I'm excited to share insights on reigniting the flame in your marriage and within yourself. Together, we'll explore what it means to trust your gut and how it can bring you closer in your relationship. It's about discovering the beauty of who we are and listening to the wisdom that resides within. Whether you're seeking to breathe new life into your marriage or simply eager to discover the magic of intuition, this podcast is your sanctuary. So get ready to learn, grow, and maybe even find some magic along the way. Welcome to the Intuitive Marriage Podcast. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Intuitive Marriage Podcast. If you are new, hi there, I'm your host, Amanda. And this week, we're going to talk about nurturing intuitive communication and appreciation in your marriage. But before we get started, I just wanted to thank all of you listeners. I have reached a milestone with my platform that I use, Buzzsprout, for my podcast. And yesterday morning, I received an email stating I have reached their second achievement and I have 50 downloads. So thank you. I don't know if that's amazing or not for a new podcast, but it's amazing to me. The fact that 50 people want to hear my voice and hear what I have to say is just super exciting and makes my heart sing. So I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get going here. This episode, we're going to dive into the intertwined worlds of intuition, communication, and appreciation. In a world where words often fail to capture the nuances of our emotions, intuition becomes our silent guide. But how does intuition intersect with communication and appreciation in a marriage? Well, let's unravel this together. The role of intuition in communication. Intuition, as we have discussed, is often described as our inner voice or our gut feeling, and it plays a pivotal role in how we communicate with our partners. It's that unspoken understanding, the ability to sense each other's needs and desires without uttering a word. Have you ever experienced that moment or time where your intuition guided your communication with your partner? What did you sense? How did you feel? How was the conversation different when you had a little bit of a different view on it, kind of a sixth sense on what your partner was feeling? So there's times when I have just known that something was bothering my husband. Even before he says a word, I can feel his energy, body language, etc. You start to pick up on those subtle cues, which allows me to approach the conversation with more empathy and understanding. And I mean, that comes in time as well. I don't know how long you've been together. Obviously, the longer that you are together in a partnership, you understand each other a bit more. You get to see patterns, you understand body language, So I do take that into consideration, but you can always work on that, even if it's a new relationship. So, fostering appreciation through intuitive communication. Now, building on that, let's explore how intuitive communication can deepen our appreciation for each other within the marriage. And it creates a relationship that gives good energy and has you at a higher vibration. Because we all know that the higher vibration, when you're in love and that higher vibration, everything, it doesn't matter. You could have joint pain. You don't feel anything because you're just high on that high vibration. That's why they call it a high. You're just vibrating. That's how I view it anyways. You feel like you're invincible. and you attract a lot of good things. When things are going really well and you're at a high vibration, you are attracting wonderful, positive things into your life. So it's nice when you have that marriage that, you feel at a higher vibration most of the times, or when you've had those conversations, right? Chances are you've had past relationships or even past conversations that have left you feeling misunderstood, frustrated, angry, hurt, ignored, and you sit with those feelings. And sometimes they can fester, and you feel drained and you feel resentment, and then it just festers. Compared to, what if your energy was in a higher state of vibration because you feel heard, you feel listened to, you feel understood, versus that energy when you feel ignored or hurt? Now, these feelings of frustration and hurt all stem from poor communication. Appreciative communication is that bridge that brings you back to feeling supported and not depleted. Now, what comes up for you? For me, it's about respect. My husband is my best friend. And, there's a lot of sarcasm that goes on in our marriage, a lot of loving sarcasm. We just knock it out of the park. It is a back and forth. We have ourselves in stitches half the time. If anybody else could hear us, they'd think we were ridiculous. But I don't want to say anything that's going to hurt him, like truly hurt him, belittle him. My husband is my best friend. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to hurt my best friend's feelings intentionally. So I really do take into consideration my words and what comes out of my mouth when we are having a discussion. But when the sarcasm is happening, gloves are off, anything's possible. And we just have fun with it. Now, how do you think intuitive communication contributes to a greater sense of appreciation between partners? Intuitive communication creates this beautiful dance of understanding and validation. When you feel truly seen and heard by your partner, it naturally cultivates a deeper sense of appreciation for who they are and what they bring to the relationship. Let's talk about cultivating intuition and how intuitive communication can be brought into your daily life. Now that we understand the importance of intuition, let's talk about cultivating intuitive communication and appreciation in daily life. Now that we understand the importance of intuition and communication in fostering appreciation, that's a mouthful. Let me start that again. The importance of intuition and communication in fostering appreciation. Let's explore some practical ways to integrate these elements into our daily lives. One simple yet powerful practice is mindfulness. By being present in the moment and tuning into each other's subtle cues, be aware of it. Be curious. We can strengthen our intuitive connection and deepen our appreciation for one another. What other practices now come to mind for you? For myself, what works is expressing gratitude daily, taking moments each day. Maybe it's just a one moment. Maybe it's many moments. Depends on the day. Just to acknowledge and appreciate something about your spouse. Doing this can go a long way in nurturing and, the culture of appreciation within your marriage. It takes practice. It doesn't just happen. It's kind of weird and uncomfortable at first if it's not something that you're used to. You know, my husband used to call it sometimes I was ego stroking, you know, um, kissing up to him, but that's really not the case. I was just trying to be appreciative. But when someone isn't used to receiving compliments, sometimes it can feel uncomfortable for them. And then it almost seems fake. So I understand where he's coming from, but I was also genuine in my compliments. And I don't think I was over the top or ego stroking. But now we have both learned how to accept compliments and, having, I guess, being acknowledged for doing nice things, if that makes sense. Just nurturing and appreciating, letting them know that, hey, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate you. I appreciate that you've done that. I appreciate that you did that. I appreciate the fact that you thought of me. It's making that effort. What can you do to take care of your future marriage? What can you do to show your spouse you appreciate them? It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be elaborate. For myself, what I try to do is my husband gets up at like 4:30 in the morning. Not me. I'm not a morning person. I'm at least 3 hours after that. And I get the coffee ready for him in the evening. I do forget, and it doesn't always happen, and he does sometimes as well. But I really try to set the coffee maker up for him so it's one less thing that he has to worry about in the morning when he gets up. He can just pour himself a cup of coffee, sit and relax, and collect himself before he starts his day. I fold my husband's clothes. We were together for a few years and we, discovered that he had no issue washing his clothes, but they never got folded or put away. I mean, I'm not guilty of that either, right? Actually, I fold, I just don't put away. I have beautiful, neat stacks of laundry in certain places. Uh, but he did not like to fold clothes. And I, on the other hand, am not a huge lover of doing dishes. We have a dishwasher. However, we never use it. It's just the two of us. But I found myself hating dishes. So we were discussing one day, just having a random conversation like we often do, and found out that we would be very grateful to switch it up and I not touch another dish and I will fold all of his clothes. So we actually did that for, oh gosh, probably about a year. And I still fold his clothes and he still does do the majority of the dishes. But in all fairness, he does the majority of the cooking. So I do make sure that I pull my weight with the dishes. And when I leave to go to work for a 24-hour shift or a 48-hour shift, I make sure that the dishes are done, the kitchen's clean, everything's set, coffee maker is set for him for the next morning. And when I'm feeling really ambitious, I will make a tuna casserole for him because it's his favorite meal that I make, apparently. So I'll make tuna casserole so he's got food for a couple of days. And yeah, so it's just doing those things that make your spouse smile. When I come home from work from, being away for a couple of days, and my husband's usually, you know, I tell him when I'm leaving, I get home to a bubble bath, candles lit, sometimes a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And he takes my bags, he comes out to the car and brings my things in. And he just understands that the transition between work and coming home, I need some time. I need some time to decompose. Decompose. I need some time to decompress. Maybe it is decompose. Oh, goodness. But you know what I mean. I need some transition time. I have a bath for about an hour. I listen to my favorite content creators, my podcasts. Not my podcasts, my podcast. I listen to my favorite podcasters and I relax and transition into being home now for a few days. And it makes for a beautiful, welcoming home. So, what are you doing that your spouse appreciates and you do it basically because of them? Think about that. And what can you do? So, I'm also going to talk about one more practice that you can start having fun with right away. This will help build your intuition and your deeper connection with your spouse. What's your spouse's map? This is a concept I learned in my coach training. Now, every person has a completely different and completely valid way of seeing the world. So, if you were to project their view of the world onto a screen, it would be unique to them on how they perceive and view the world. Completely unique to them. Now, I put my map next to my husband's, and it's totally different based on our experiences and views. Now, the key is to acknowledge that both maps are valid. Coming from a sense of appreciation and curiosity for another person, your spouse, your husband, your wife, means listening with a willingness to consider that the other person has a point of view or an unmet need or desire that's right and good, even if it is contributing to a feeling of friction or conflict. Ooh, it's not always easy. It's very possible and even likely that their behaviors or views make sense in their world, even if it doesn't make sense in yours. I'm just going to share a story with you. For example, my husband grew up having outdoor dogs, fence runners on a farm. The dogs looked after the cattle and made sure that, the property was guarded. And they lived outside in a doghouse. I grew up where dogs were inside the home and part of your family. My parents didn't let them on the couch, but I always have. And I just grew up just knowing they were part of the family. And I had a hard time when my husband and I got together. He had a couple of dogs that were outside. And so when we decided to get a dog, well, we didn't decide to get a dog together. Sorry. His son bought him a dog for Christmas. And when his other dog passed away, I had a really hard time with her being outside. Her name is Luna, and she's a pity, and she's beautiful. And she's in her 10th year and not feeling very well right now. So we'll give her lots of prayers. But I couldn't handle it. She'd be howling outside because the other dog had just recently passed away, Brutus. And I had a really hard time with that. I would cry while I was here. And I was like, how do you let her be outside? I can't handle this. I can't be with you. And I was going off because, I had a hard time with it. Meanwhile, my husband is like, "Ugh, never had dogs in the house. Like, no. So, because we were open to discuss where our feelings and thoughts were coming from with our experiences in the past and what we grew up with, we were both open to see each other's side of it. However, in the long run, um, Luna does sleep on the couch, and she is an indoor dog. So, yes, I did end up, how should we say, opening up his eyes to see a different way. He might call it manipulation. I don't call it that at all. But he absolutely now looks back and can't believe that he didn't have his dogs inside and be more part of the family. So it just opened up both sides of it. And I did understand his reasoning and seeing his side of it. But at the end of the day, yes, Mama has Luna inside and has for the last 9.5 years. So I just needed to share that story with you, but I won. No, it's not about that at all. Can you tell? Oh gosh, I hope my husband does not listen to this podcast. That's too funny. Now, this does take practice, okay? It requires a willingness to temporarily set aside your own assertions that you're right. Just can't stop. Okay. that you're right and the other person is wrong or misguided, right? Not that I'm saying you're misguided, honey. Anyways, okay. You know what I'm saying, right? It's not always easy, but it gives you a better understanding of why they think the way that they do and why you think the way that you do. And to be understanding and open to knowing that both sides are valid. Both sides are very valid. Now, in saying all of this, I know we're joking around, but in my mind, it's about being curious. It's about respect. Ask them questions. Why do you see that way? Get curious. Why do they think the way they do? Ask the what, ask the when, the how, the who, the why, right? Have empathy. And please stop making assumptions of your partner's thoughts and feelings. It does not work. It does not turn out well. That's not being respectful. So do a little exercise with your spouse this week. I'd love to hear back from you, some feedback. You can now follow me on Instagram at the Intuitive Marriage Podcast. And I do just have an email set up at theintuitivemarriagepodcast@gmail.com. Please, I'd love to hear from you guys. What are the 3 aspects of your relationship that you love? Okay, so this is the exercise I want you guys to do this week. You're going to sit down, you're going to ask your spouse, what are the 3 aspects of your relationship that you love? Maybe you need to sit down and take some time and write it down. Take a day or two to figure it out and then plan a conversation. Why? Why do you love those things? Ask them, what does that do for you? How does that make you feel? Get curious, ask questions. It's a lot of fun. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, this week's episode, let's remember that intuition, communication, and appreciation are not just individual elements, but are deeply intertwined in the fabric of our relationships. By cultivating intuitive communication and expressing appreciation, we not only strengthen our bond with our partner, but also nurture a love that grows deeper with each passing day. Thank you for tuning in to the Intuitive Marriage Podcast this week. I hope you found today's discussion enlightening and that you'll join me again for more insights into creating a marriage that thrives on connection and understanding. So until next time, stay intuitive, communicate with love, and never forget to appreciate the beauty of your marriage. Oh, and please go rate the show and share it if you enjoyed it today. Thanks so much. Take care.